Okay, here we have a complex fraction, and in order to kind of make this a little easier, I always like when I have complex fractions to have a fraction on the top and a fraction on the bottom. It just seems to clear things up for me in my brain. So I'm going to make this bottom one a fraction also. And here's why. If you think about it, when you're a fraction bar is division. So when you're dividing fractions, you write the fraction in the numerator, which is p to the fourth minus q to the fourth, and over p plus q squared. And then you change the division to multiply, and you multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction in the denominator. So if I take the denominator and do the reciprocal, it's 1 over p squared plus q squared. So I've changed that complex fraction now into a multiplication problem. Now, we need to factor some of this stuff in order to simplify it. I'm going to start by factoring. I'm going to circle it with yellow. I'm going to start by factoring this. This is a difference of two squares. So it's going to factor, if you think about it, into p squared minus q squared, p squared plus q squared. Okay? And on the bottom of that, I have p plus q squared. Now, and then I have 1 over p squared plus q squared. Now, there's still another difference of two squares here, and it's right here. I'm going to go ahead and change this. I'm going to just mark it out there because I can see I'm out of room here on the iPad already. I'm going to mark this out. I'm going to change this into p plus q, p minus q, so I can kind of get rid of some stuff here. All right, let's see what we got now. I'm going to cancel out in green, okay? Notice that this p squared plus q squared here is going to cancel out with this p squared plus q squared here. As a matter of fact, I could put it in parentheses just to make it look a little bit better. Now, I have a p plus q on top here, this blue p plus q, and there's two copies of p plus q down here. So if I cancel this out, it'll cancel out one of these down here, and it'll just leave me with p plus q. So what do I have left now? Let me write my answer in black. I have the only thing left on the top is a bunch of 1s multiplied by that blue p minus q. I'm just going to write it this way. And then on the bottom I have a p plus q. I had 2 of them and 1 of them canceled out. So there's my answer right there. Okay, I'm looking at this problem and it's like, oh great, lots of stuff, right? Alright, I'm going to start by, instead of just changing the division first, I'm going to factor some things first just so we can, get a lot done in the little bit of space that this page allows me. If you look up here at u squared plus v squared, the top of the last fraction here, I'm going to go ahead and factor this just so I can kind of see what I got here. This is u plus v. Okay, I'm thinking, what if you just look, we got a u squared here, the v squared is going to be a v here, and now we got to take care of the number parts. If you think what multiplies to give me this 1 on the end and adds up to give me 2, it's 1. 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So this is going to be u plus 1v, u plus 1v. I'm just going to leave it u plus v, however, okay? Now, one good thing about that is, well, I'll wait. Now let's factor. The other thing that I can see that we could factor is down here, this uv squared. So I tell you what, let me put a line through this to show that I factored it. Now let me factor the denominator there. If you look, you can pull a u and a v out of both terms. Both of those terms on the bottom there have a u and a v in them. And in the first term, what's going to be left is a v, and then you got a minus sign, and then you got a u left. So I went ahead and I factored that. All right, I've got some stuff factored. Now some things are going to cancel out, and so I'm going to go ahead now. What I want to do now is I'll write in a different color just so we can see the different lines and help visually keep them separate. I'm going to go ahead and change this into all multiplication. U squared v over u plus v. Then the division would become multiplied by the reciprocal, so this would be change that division up here on the top line into 1 over u plus v. And I'm going to go ahead and, they had it in parentheses. I'm going to put this one over here in parentheses so that we can see we got 2 of the same thing here, don't we? And then I'm going to put multiply, and on the top over, if you look over here where I have gone ahead and factored and written those factors in red, I'm just going to write those factors down. U plus V, U plus V, over UV times V minus U. Let's start now. When I'm multiplying, I could just smush everything together, couldn't I? I could rewrite it all on one line, but in your mind, just think, when we multiply, this can just become one big old huge thing, and we can just put multiply symbols in between everything, okay? The reason I'm doing that instead of rewriting it is there's a lot that's going to cancel out. Let me cancel out in red. This U plus V could cancel out that one, and this one could cancel out that one. Now, let's see what we got left now, because there's another bit of canceling we can do. U squared V on top times 1 times, now these would just all be 1s when they canceled out, wouldn't they? Because U plus V goes into U plus V one time on each one of these. So all I've got left is U squared V on the top, and on the bottom all I've got is UV times V minus U. Now, you could use your exponent rules. Just to make it clear on the video what I'm doing, I'm just going to write it out the long way. U squared V would be UUV, wouldn't it? And I have a UV and a V minus U on the bottom. Now you can kind of see what's going to happen here. This U could cancel out that U, and this V could cancel out that V. And then what I'd be left with would be just a U on the top and a V minus U on the bottom. So this is why we have to know how to factor well. It just shows up all the time now, doesn't it? So here's my answer, U over V minus U. Okay. Ooh, what a mess, right? Let's try to factor everything we've got here before we rewrite it and flip things because of these multiplication signs. And that way we can maybe fit this all on one line here on the iPad. All right, so let me go ahead and I'll mark things out as I factor them, or I'll write above them and then mark them out, okay? So let's just start here with this first one. If I have 3x squared, that's going to be a 3x times a x, okay? I'm going to do, because these are prime numbers, I'm going to do guess and check instead of the factor by grouping on this one. Now, if I want to get 2, I know it's 2 times 1. I need a negative 2. I'm trying to find things that multiply to give me negative 2 here. And it's the only thing I can get is a 2 and a 1. But look at the number in the middle that I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get a 1. So I know that this 2 and this 1, I don't want the 3 to get multiplied by the 2. If I put the 2 over here where I just drew that arc, the 3 would get multiplied by the 2. So I know the 2 is going to go here and the 1 is going to go here, because remember how we multiply to get that middle term is kind of like upside down rainbows or smiley faces or whatever you want to look at it. That's supposed to be an X. It's just that, can't get much fine-tuning here with this stylus. All right, I want a positive, so I want a positive 1 in the middle. So I want more positives than negative. That means the 3x needs to be positive, and because of the way it gets multiplied, that means there's going to be a plus sign there, and then there will be a minus sign here, so I can get a minus 2x. And that would work out. If you check it, that works out. So I tell you what, as I do this, let me come down here and write it. 3x minus 2, x plus 1. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to read that later because I had a hard time with it, writing it. Now on the bottom, let me just come down here and try to factor the bottom one on this one. It's going to be a 3x and an x, and I know that I don't want to get 6 out of my middle term just like above, so I'm going to put the 2 here and the 1 here. But this time I want a minus xy, so I want this to be a minus, so I'll put a minus there. This would be a plus 2x, and that'd give me a minus xy. Now I'll go ahead and factor this. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and flip these as I go, just to save some space on the iPad. Let me go up and factor that top one there now. This is going to be, only way I can get 3x squared is 3x and an x, so I'm going to have to do that. Now that's going to go on the bottom down here, remember, because of this multiply sign, it's going to get flipped in a minute. Let's see, if I'm going to get a 6, I need to get some stuff to add up to 7, and if you think about it, if I said 3 times 2, that would give me 6, and if I put a 1 times x here, that'd be a plus 1x. I could get my plus 7xy, and Okay, so I had trouble factoring that when I stopped the video for a minute. I'm going to write over this in blue because this isn't going to work what I was thinking it would not work. When you factor this, it ends up being 3x minus 2y and x plus 3y. Now that's going to go on the bottom down there. So I'm going to go ahead and write it because it's hard to read. Because of that division sign, I'm going to, that fraction's going to get flipped and turned into multiplication. So let me write it down here. 3x minus 2y and x plus 3y. And I'll be honest with you, what I did was I went off and factored by grouped off on another piece of paper. So you would have to be able to do that, okay? And I knew I was running out of time on the video. That's why I did that. I'm going to have to stop it to get all this on the video and go do the other one the same way. Actually, I might can do this. Let's look at the this one right here. It's going to go right on the top there. Maybe I can do this on the video and get it in. 3x squared is going to be 3x and x, and a minus y, it's going to be a y and a y. Minus y squared is going to be a y and a y. And to get a minus 2xy, you would want to have these two right here get multiplied as a minus, and then you'd want a plus here. And then I'm going to just take that last one right here, this last fraction, and it doesn't factor, so I'm just going to flip it. Remember, because it's division, we multiply by the reciprocal. That's going to be times 3x plus 2y over 3x plus y. So let's start canceling some stuff out. I did the flipping and the factoring, so now it's time to just cancel stuff out. Let's see. 3x plus, let's see, did I do that right? Yeah, okay. See, here's the 3x plus y, and here's the 3x plus y. Let's just find things that we can cancel out. There was supposed to be a y here that I didn't write down. I realize it now. So that would have been up here. There was supposed to be a y here. Okay, so the reason I realized it, I saw that this almost matched. So I caught my mistake there. There's an x plus y, 3x minus 2y that cancels out. Here's a same thing down here. There should have been a y here and a y here. I was so worried about the numbers that I forgot to put the y on with it. But if you put the y's on with it, if you look up, there should be y's there. Then this one would cancel out with this one. So let's see what we got now. We've got, I've got an x plus y left on top and an x minus y on bottom. I just kind of need to clean it up because there's so much here. Then there's an x minus y over here, and then an x plus 3y. Okay. So now we can see that there's still stuff that can cancel out. There's this x minus y and this x minus y. And so then I would finally have my answer. It would be x plus y over x plus 3y. And again, that y doesn't look much like a y. I'll try to fix it. It just makes it worse sometimes when I do. But that's what you would do. The hard part of this, I think, was the factoring, and then I forgot to put the y's in. If you have trouble with any of that factoring, go off and factor by group if you need to the side, do whatever you need to kind of get that done, and then just flipping your fractions and canceling stuff out. It's a very tedious problem.